I never thought I'd say this, but the MCU is a mess. The discourse on YouTube and social media is becoming ever more frequent in the recent years that the MCU is really going downhill. Not because every movie sucks or whatever, but because there seems like there's no communication between directors, lack of direction, and okay, maybe some of the movies aren't up to scratch. And recently the whole debacle with the VFX artists. I wish from the get-go Phase 4 was more set up, planned ahead, and grounded. I wish after the Infinity Saga, Papa Feige thought, you know what, let's take a step back. So that's what I'm going to be doing today in possibly my most ambitious rewriting MCU Phase 4. Let's go. Okay, right off from the bat, I'm just going to put this out there. I'd love to get rid of the multiverse stuff and ground the MCU back into reality, at least for the first phase, kind of like how Phase 1 only dabbled into the Infinity Saga, but was more of a character building phase than anything. But since I'd have to pretty much scrap the entire phase and future plans for this to work, I'm going to have to keep the multiverse stuff around, but instead, I'm going to try and limit it and maybe fix it as much as I possibly can. So the first show in Phase 4 will not be Wandavision, but instead will be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I think Shang-Chi is a perfect iteration of what the MCU should be going forward. It's fresh, has a new take on things, is completely detached from Endgame, and lights up the future for the cinematic universe. This movie will be exactly the same, however, I would like to change the post-credit scene to be something teasing Wanda going to the facility in which Vision was kept at, which would sort of set up a direction for the rest of the phase. The second thing in Phase 4 will be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, except it won't be a show, it'll be a movie. We're going to remove Carly from the show completely and make John Walker the main villain of the show. Instead of Sam becoming Captain America by the end, he will actually already be Captain America at the start, or at least he will be trying to be. And after consideration from the US government, they deemed Sam unfit to hold the title, and the film will be about Sam's mental struggle to be able to deal with the pressure of being Cap and living up to the name of Steve Rogers. And when John Walker goes crazy with power, everyone realizes that Sam all along was the perfect fit for the shoes of Steve Rogers, giving us a satisfying conclusion to the story. Bucky's story will be the same and won't change, he'll just tag alongside Sam throughout the story. We will also find out in an end post-credit scene that there is a rumbling of someone looking to claim power over New York City. Okay, so hopefully you start to see what's going on here. Phase 4 will be split up into two parallel stories, the Multiverse Saga and the street level stuff. They will each have their own direction, but the multiverse stuff will very much be at the center of everything still. The next film should be Black Widow, but I'm going to completely get rid of this film as it's not needed. And also when we get to Hawkeye, we'll take Yelena out there too. Oh, and while we're on the topic, I'm going to completely get rid of Eternals as well. The issue with the Eternals, especially at this phase in the MCU after Endgame, is that it causes so many plot holes for the rest of the MCU. Like, where were they during all of these big events? What were the Celestials doing, etc.? Like, surely it's their job if half the universe is about to get destroyed. So, you know, yeah. So we're gonna get rid of them too. The third project in Phase 4 will be Wandavision, which will stay a TV show. This will be completely the same, however the ending of the show will be completely different. Instead of Wanda being redeemed and saving the day, she will plunge and regress further into darkness of the thought of losing Vision and now her children, which will set her up as the main villain for Multiverse of Madness. One thing I didn't like about the whole Wandavision Multiverse of Madness story with Wanda is that she's redeemed, and then the way they regress her into being a villain again is through a book. Yeah, a book. So instead of relying on mystical MacGuffins to regress our characters, she will legitimately fall further down the dark path, and by the end will be in absolute agony. The fourth project will be Loki, which honestly could have been a film as well. Loki could have been a 2.5-hour film, and I don't think it needed to have 6 episodes. With that in mind, Loki, to this day, is my favorite project in Phase 4 besides No Way Home and Shang-Chi, so Loki will stay exactly the same. However, the only difference here is probably the most crucial one for the rest of the phase. Although in the first Doctor Strange film, it's made very clear that the multiverse does exist, I'm going to do a little retcon here. And trust me, don't be mad, but this is only one tiny retcon that makes the whole phase so much better and less convoluted. Basically, the multiverse never existed before Loki. That's right, Kang, He Who Remains, has kept the timeline intact this whole time. And no, this is not just the MCU timeline of events, this is absolutely everything. From the universe's creation to the universe's death, there is only one timeline this entire time. So when Kang dies, the timeline branches out into several places, creating the multiverse, creating Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universes. This also creates the Fox X-Men universe, the two Fantastic Four universes, all the other countless Marvel universes from the comics, the shows, everything is created in this one moment where Kang dies, meaning that going forward, Loki matters. Sylvie and Loki's actions here matter. The whole multiverse is being decimated because of Loki. They single-handedly break one timeline that has ever been, which thrusts us straight into the Multiverse Saga and quite frankly raises the stakes more than ever before. Now going into the 5th project, it will be Hawkeye. Now once again, this will be a film and I'd like to place this right after Loki to ground the phase and to remind us that we are still in a time of reshaping and finding our feet again in the MCU. I'll be making some changes here though. As I said before, I'll be removing Yelena as Black Widow didn't happen. I will also make Kingpin a more formidable foe and build him up to be this scary entity. I'd still introduce Echo as I think she's a crucial part of the street level story going forward into Phase 5. Sam Wilson will also cross over in this show as well, as it's revealed Kingpin was the one from the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Anyway, Clint still gets his happy ending, and Kate Bishop is now Hawkeye full-time and is thrown fully in with Kingpin's storyline. Daredevil will also make a cameo appearance at the end of the show, solidifying a solid direction for this story. Moving back to the multiverse story, the 6th project in the phase is Spider-Man No Way Home, and to be honest, this can stay the same. The way Loki sets it up is that the multiverse is now open, and the spell that Doctor Strange does rips a hole in time and space, which causes some of the surrounding universes to collapse into one another, causing Andrew and Toby to show up. The only thing that I would change though is that Doctor Strange doesn't know much about the multiverse when Peter asks him. He'll say that there have been rumors and whispers, but he didn't really know it actually existed. Anyway, the film ends with the world forgetting Peter is Spider-Man, and it ends there. The 7th Phase 4 project is going to be Daredevil Born Again, a recent project announced to be a part of Phase 5 of the MCU, but I'm going to push it forward to here, which will continue from Daredevil Season 3, and will be Daredevil's first proper integration into the MCU. And since we have this Kingpin story and street level story built up over this phase, this is where it'll all culminate. Daredevil versus Kingpin. But at its heart, this will be a Matt Murdock story about him fighting his old rival, Wilson Fisk. The show will also end with Fisk being defeated and the street level story of Phase 4 coming to a close. However, at the end there will also be a tease for the Young Avengers, teasing that Kate Bishop will be a big part of it. The 8th and final project in Phase 4 will be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now don't worry about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, Thor Love and Thunder, Moon Knight or any of them. They will be all pushed back to Phase 5 and 6, which will be another 2 videos. They aren't actually cancelled like Eternals or Black Widow, but rather serve another purpose in the grand story going forward. I want Phase 4 to be less cluttered as possible with the films and projects that are absolutely necessary to be here. Like I said, this is a reformation of the MCU. It has to have a clear, solid and smooth direction with less projects that aren't attuned to the actual story popping up here and there, but will serve a bigger meaning going forward in the future phases. So they will be moved back and you guys will eventually find out where I'm going with them, especially Ms. Marvel. That's going to be a big part of Phase 5 going forward. Anyway, Multiverse of Madness. So this, we're going to change a lot in this film. So first things first, Wanda is the villain. However, she doesn't learn about the multiverse through the Darkhold. Even though Strange managed to save the multiverse from collapsing in No Way Home, we're going to learn that the consequence that the gap between the universes is now paper thin and weaker than it was before the spell. Wanda will learn about this fact and will figure if she wants to be happy, she could find her kids in a separate universe. A big portion of the film will be Wanda trying to break the multiverse with her Scarlet Witch powers, becoming more powerful than ever. And I guess if you want to throw the Darkhold in there as well, for a way to her to learn to get more powerful, then you can. And then obviously Strange will see this, and going off his role from No Way Home, trying to save the multiverse from collapsing, he will also try to stop her. This way it also completely removes all the dream walking and exposition regarding America Chavez and throws us straight into the action. By the way, I just want to point out that now dream walking is a thing in the MCU. That means that when Tony was having PTSD and nightmares in Iron Man 3, he was just seeing into another universe, not his greatest fears. I'm just saying. So once the multiverse is broken, we will follow Doctor Strange throughout the multiverse as he tries to catch Wanda, and he will be pushed to his absolute breaking point. And this is where we will be introduced to America Chavez. Basically, Strange will get stuck in a universe chasing Wanda and will need Chavez's help. Therefore, they team up and chase down Wanda. We are going to completely scrap the Illuminati in service of showing all different types of universes instead, because this is the Multiverse of Madness. I want to show the full range of the multiverse. Wanda in the third act will finally find a universe where her kids are. However, something will happen. Wanda and Strange will spend too much time in this one universe running around and fighting each other, which causes an incursion. So instead of being told about incursions, I want one to actually happen in front of the audience instead. Because in my version of the Multiverse Saga, incursions are going to come into play a lot more in the future. But essentially, how an incursion works in my version is based on the power level of a specific being. So while Strange and Wanda are in another universe for too long, maybe a day or so, it causes an incursion because they're two of the most powerful beings in the multiverse. However, when two Spider-Men made their way to the MCU, not much happened because obviously they're like basically just two random guys compared to Wanda and Strange. So an incursion would take a lot longer to occur in that scenario. Anyway, an incursion happens, and in this film, we learn about how dangerous they are. The whole universe they're in will decimate itself. However, they need to return home, and Wanda in this case will now learn that she can't get back what she's lost, and she has to deal with the consequence of making an entire universe destroy itself. And in an act of redemption and heroism, she holds off the incursion with all her power to allow Strange to escape back to MCU 616, as she dies along with the universe. And as Strange returns to his universe, we will also find out that the multiverse has started to collapse rapidly, and he's got to do something about it. And that will lead us in nicely to Phase 5 and the story going forward. That is it for my rewrite of Phase 4. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I really wanted to streamline Phase 4 to make it more of a direction-based phase and really setting up the story before we start introducing all these other characters here and there and reintroducing certain characters that don't have anything to do with the main story. I wanted to really focus this phase in on the goal and where we're going, because I think that's been a major problem for the MCU, and probably its biggest issue in Phase 4 so far is that there really hasn't been any direction until we got to San Diego Comic-Con, where they announced Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Obviously we have a direction now, but before we really didn't. So I wanted to streamline this phase. I wanted to make it very clear about where we were going, and now we can start introducing these other characters. And you're also going to see how Miss Marvel plays a big role as well. You're also going to see how incursions play a big role going forward into Phase 5 as well. Also, the street level stuff is going to make another appearance as well. There's going to be a whole story with that, with Spider-Man now joining that side of the MCU. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going into my next rewrite for the Multiverse Saga. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like on it, and also make sure to subscribe so you do not miss Phase 5. And also, if you do want awesome No Way Home t-shirts and the Blu-rays, make sure to go to the description down below. You can pick up yours today. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.